Hello and welcome to episode 1372 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, February 7th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer. Joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, how's it going, brother?
Doing good, man. Just in the grind of draft season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to get projections done, articles done. Yeah, it's going good. How you doing?
Not great, man. This flu's been an absolute nightmare. Now I got a pretty ugly cough, so we'll see if we can power through here, but you talk about the worst timing to get sick, man. Obviously, we do a lot of the same stuff with regards to getting ready for baseball, so you just can't pick a worse. Well, actually, you can. Basically, from the time I have, anytime as we get closer, it gets progressively worse. But this is a pretty rotten time. So I'm hopefully through the worst of it, and I'm just hacking out the end stages here. But God, it's bad. And my sister's a teacher, and she says she's had students getting crazy shit out, 2, 3 weeks. So it's that time of year, the flu season, the get super sick season. So anyway, I've been trying to power through things. Got some articles up. Got a recent SP update coming. Or I got one out. I got another one coming. But I just want to be healthy. I just want to be. I don't want to sleep through the night. I went to bed super early last night, so then I was up at 3 a.m. So, it's. I'm in a bad mood. Let's just say that. So piss me off today. I dare you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, nothing better than pissing you off first thing in the morning.
It's not that difficult, but we got some moves to discuss. Two big ones, two small ones, and then we're gonna finally finish up second. Well, I say finally. Is it? It'd be part three, right? Yeah, so I guess
Yeah,
it's part
part
three.
three.
And it is a little bit of a finally because we had to delay because of my health. So let's dive in. Let's start with Big Pete. He does indeed go back to New York. I was starting to think that he wasn't
Yeah, I thought my
because they
Giants might jump in and do it, like get him like they got Snell and Chapman
right.
last season. So
And with Vientos being the first baseman or slotted to be there, I'm like, well, they got first base covered. They don't necessarily need him. Alonso's better than Vientos, right? Let's be clear on that. He's way more proven. I love Vientos, but Pete Alonso has been putting up, big 30 plus, 40 plus homer seasons for 6 years now. He is definitely better, but I was like, well, if they got to do, 4 or 5 plus year deal, doesn't make sense. Just go with Vientos and Beatty at first and third, respectively. But they get it done kind of on a similar deal to the guy we're going to talk about next, which is Flaherty. Kind of a 1-in-1 where you get a big payout this year. You can jump back in next year into the free agent market. And if, for some reason things tank this year, they would have him next year. I don't think anything really changes because obviously he's staying with the Mets. But how do you like the fit here now that he joins or rejoins the Mets with Soto on board? Are we thinking that the big triple-digit RBI totals are coming back? Because he only had 88 last year. That was kind of the one thing that was off about Pete. He played every game, 162, 34 bombs, 240. That's fine for a power hitter like him. But then 88 ribs. Are we getting back into the 118, 131, which is where he was the 2 years before that?
yeah, I mean, I had him rebounding a little bit in my projections uh, prior to even re-signing, but like this is a fantastic location for him. I mean, we know he's comfortable. We know he can go deep quite a bit in New York. Adding Juan Soto in front of you is
Gosh,
just going to lead to so many more RBIs.
Lindor, Soto in front of you. That is
And
a
like
nice
it
pair.
really helps the just overall lineup because like the bottom half of that lineup was going to be a little bit ugly with
Mm-hmm.
guys like Jeff McNeil and Jose Siri, and then like probably
Winker and
uh,
Alvarez.
yeah, but Luis Angel Acuna is probably going to be
Yeah,
like an everyday player, or
he might
Brett
have gotten
Beatty.
more time, or Beatty, yeah. If Pete hadn't come back, so you're right. The bottom third was looking a little dicey. Instead, now it's Alvarez, McNeil, Siri, which that's fine. You know, Alvarez bashes, McNeil makes a bunch of contact, and Siri is a defense first guy that, you know, they're really looking at him for the defense more than anything else. But that top six, Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, Vientos, Winker, that's a nice six.
Yeah.
Winker against righties, of course, and then somebody else against lefties because he's a definite platoon guy. But yeah, they are in a good spot. Things are really coming together for the Mets, and I know it's still the Mets, so you got to play out the season and see how it goes. But I'd be hard pressed not to be excited if I were a Mets fan. Like things are really coming together nicely. And Pete's one of those guys that's super easy to root for too. So like even though I'm like I don't think a team should really give him 5 years because it's just a general bad investment to do that with first baseman. That was my brain part. My heart part was like, yes, sign him. This dude deserves it. He's one of the premier power hitters in the game. So he doesn't get the big deal. He gets the 1 and 1. Do you think that he just jumps back into the market next year and then and I know it's so hard to say because who knows what happens this year. But do you think they're more inclined to turn their attentions to Vlad at that point and then let Pete go? Or if he goes out, let's say he goes out and goes big, 50 bombs, 120 ribs, 260 average, like, you know, really kind of comes back to what we saw. I accidentally just named his 2019 season 53,
Yeah. Right.
120, 260. I didn't even realize that. So let's say he does his rookie year again for Pete. Do you think Cohen and company would be moved by that, or did Stearns and company have their eyes set on Vlad Jr.?
I mean, it's hard to not want to go after Vlad. And like,
Right.
so like when I heard that Alonso was offered a 3-year deal by the Mets without an opt out, and didn't take it, I was a little surprised.
Right.
Just
I was
because
too.
you get that extra year, uh, and you don't have to compete against Vlad Jr., who's going to be 26
Hmm.
or 27, or heading into next season, 26 in free agency. Um, like, I just don't know that you're going to compete with that. Um,
No, I
you know,
mean,
even if you have a great year, like you're now another year older.
hmm
Alonso will be. He'll be 31 next year. You're still probably not getting that 5-year deal.
mm-mm.
So I mean, he's clearly a guy who likes to bet on himself, and I hope he does well because I think like this is a really good opportunity for him. With Soto in that lineup in front of him. But I'm not uh I'm not super enthused by like the idea of like a 1-and-1 type of contract.
Yeah, and I can't imagine he is either. At least he's back with his boys. He can focus on that, but has to be a bit of a bummer. And the simple fact is, the market has wisened up to first basemen who are 30 plus years old, and he's going into his age 30 season. So it's a great fit this year. It's gonna be great for fantasy purposes, I believe, but the long term is still a bit up in the air for Pete Alonso. Meanwhile, my Tigers brought Jack Flaherty back again on a 1+1 here, where you get the front loaded this year, and then if things flop, then obviously they would have him next year, and hopefully he can rebuild his value. But otherwise, he gets another crack at it. This one's less surprising that the market didn't quite materialize. There is clearly medical stuff hanging over Flaherty that made him an unappealing trade candidate with the Yankees, we heard during the deadline, remember? And probably clearly push some teams off in the free agency pursuit because he just wasn't getting that big deal despite coming off of a really strong season. He was amazing with Detroit for 107 innings and then definitely worse in 55 innings with the Dodgers, but certainly not bad. Add it all up, it was 162 innings of a 3.17 ERA, 107 whip. And his market just never really came to fruition on a level that he'd want. Now, he is only going to be age 29 this year. So he's still on the right side of 30. And I guess if he has another 28 plus starts and shows that his time with Detroit last year wasn't a fluke and he does really well again, maybe things start to materialize more. I think we've seen pitchers in the past have a negative reputation. They put a couple seasons together. I think it's the fact that it's only one season in the last several that probably had a lot of teams giving pause with Flaherty, in addition to the medicals, because we hadn't seen him be good really since 2019. So I think that that pushed teams off a little bit, but I love this for my Tigers jumping back in. I felt like this was a wonderful move, and it has me super excited. What did you think about Flaherty going back to my Tigers?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great little signing for them. Really, I think strengthens the rest of that rotation and gives them a lot more options, like in case guys do get hurt. No such thing as a bad 1 year deal. I know it's technically a 2 year deal, but
Right.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, unless Flaherty gets hurt, it's a 1 year deal. So because you got to think he's going to try to opt out and you know get a better contract next season. Uh, yeah, I mean, works out great for the Tigers. So it kind of sucks for Flaherty. You want to see him
Yeah.
get his money, but is what it
And
is.
he making 30 this year, I think, on the front loaded, or 25, I can't remember, but making a healthy chunk of change, right? And we know, no one's saying that that he's eating SpaghettiOs every day. But he had to feel like, hey, I did my part. I went out there. I did stay healthy this year. I had a big season. It's part of a World Series winning team, and the market just wasn't there. So we'll definitely see. At pick 141, which is where he's been since since January 1st. Is that somewhere you take Flaherty? It's around Jared Jones, Spencer Strider, Brian Wu.
Yeah, I mean that's a really risky group to begin with, right?
Yeah,
So like, I think I'm probably taking him over Strider in
for
most
sure.
formats, and then I'm definitely taking him over Wu because I think Wu is a kind of a ticking time bomb.
Probably take
Um,
Jones over Flaherty, but they're close for me.
yeah, I'm taking Jones. I think there, uh, but yeah, I think it's a decent spot. Like
Yeah,
especially if he's like your fourth kind of starter.
yeah, definitely not overpriced there. If you're in on the Flaherty train still, and you have some protection there, like you said, if he's your fourth, then you don't have to have as much expectation on him, because again, I do think that there are some lingering concerns about his health that hopefully don't crop up, because obviously I'm a big Tigers fan. I want to see him stay healthy, but I know they are lurking for at least some of the teams that saw the medicals. A couple small moves here. Harrison Bader going out to Minnesota, by the way. They've done nothing this offseason. Nothing. And boy, if I was a Twins fan, I'd be
It it
livid.
le- it legit was their first signing, first
Yes.
major league signing.
Yes.
We talked about. So I was on the panel on PitchCon that talked about like grading each team's offseason moves,
Did
and
they get
like
an F minus minus?
yeah, like we couldn't give them. There was three teams who like got Fs from everybody. Them, the Cardinals, and I can't remember who the third team was that hasn't signed anybody. But it's like, how are you a team that was expected to win the division last year, expected to be competitive in the division this year?
Had the division for most of the year, by the way.
Yeah,
Or excuse
exactly.
me.
Like,
Well, no, excuse me. Had a playoff spot.
yeah,
Cleveland had the division, but
yeah.
they were tracking for the playoffs. Pardon me.
And not do anything,
Anything.
like anything this offseason. Like Harrison Bader being your free agent acquisition is criminal. Like I
Mm-hmm.
get that they're a cheaper team, but like that is just not enough. And Brett in the comments right now, it's like, well, Oscar, and a minor league deal isn't good enough for you guys. No,
How
like
dare us raising
this
the
is a
bar on them?
really good team that like they didn't
Yes,
even make a major signing. Oh, Seattle, I think was the other one that because it was
makes
pre
sense.
Polanco deal.
Another
Uh,
disappointing team.
yeah, another like war crime in free agency committed. Seattle not signing anybody of note.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm I'm just so disappointed in them. Like, I don't care about Harrison Bader from a fantasy perspective at this point
Yeah,
this year.
he's back up. I mean, the only reason I would say that you maybe care a little and you just want to know that he's there is because he's backing up Buxton. Bader himself has plenty of injury issues, so it's not like he's Mr. Health, but we know that Buxton isn't either. And he did go 12 and 17 last year, but it did come with a 236, 284, 376. So he's a late round pick for sure. I'm going to look up his ADP here. Better start with a 4. Okay, starts with a 5, even better. 510 ADP. So yeah, nothing that's like really moving the needle there, but hey, wanted to give the Twins fans some love with their giant move. What about this one, man? This guy, boy, things really went south here for Yoel Moncada, huh? He signs with the Angels. Um, he basically didn't play last year, 12 games, 92 games the year before, about a league average bat. Is he going to do anything at age 30 with the Angels? Yoel Moncada?
I mean, I don't think so. Like I mean, I think at this point in his career, he kind of is who he is, which is a guy whose name value carries more weight than his actual value. We're talking about a guy who's likely going to be their short side DH, uh,
Cool.
like and hit eighth in the lineup right in front of another disappointing signing in Anthony Rendon.
Oh,
Uh,
gosh.
like I don't care about Yohan Moncada. I mean, outside of maybe DC's, because I'm sure he's like extremely cheap.
Yeah, let's see
Uh,
where his ADP is. Again, it better be starting
so
with like a 4
yeah, I
or
mean,
5.
he
6.
hasn't he
601.
hasn't he hasn't gotten to 450 plate appearances since 2021.
Yeah, and that's quite a bit in the
Injuries
rear view at
and
this point.
just injuries and just disappointment.
Yep. And I don't know. It doesn't strike me as though LA is the place where you're gonna rebirth, right, with the Angels. So I don't have much love for it either. But those are a couple of tiny moves that I did want to give at least a little passing interest to. Let's move to the final piece of our second base preview. We are in the later tiers now, and we're going to start with Tyler Fitzgerald, Willie Castro, Jose Caballero, Spencer Horwitz, we've already talked about, Jake Cronenworth, Christopher Morel, Michael Garcia, and Brendan Donovan. Let's take them in order. Tyler Fitzgerald came on the scene last year. What did he blast? 7 homers in a week or something? It was
Mhm.
magical. He absolutely popped off and kind of kept it going. You know, he put up a really nice season, 15 and 17 homers and steals in 96 games, 136 OPS plus with a 280 average. First off, where are you guys playing him this year? Are you playing him at second?
I think second base is where he's going to be.
Okay.
Posey said that he's expected to be the kind of opening day regular second baseman. Um,
And that's where we got him penciled in here on
yeah,
roster resource 2. Okay, that makes sense because, yeah, obviously, um, before he signed Adamas, I think he was slated in short, and it was like, that's bad because he should not be playing short. But second base, I think, is fine. Do you believe in what he did last year? You're watching him every day. Tyler Fitzgerald, you know, this is kind of a late bloomer, age 26. I don't think he was a major prospect of any sort. How much validity do we put into this big 341 plate appearance sample? Because that's still a small sample, right? Like 341 plate appearances is not enough to say like, oh, he's established. It was a great run. Is there legitimacy to it?
yeah, no, there's none. Like it's just like it was just an unreal run. Between July 9th and August 14th, he had 350, 407, 816
Good
with
Lord.
13 home runs and 5 stolen bases.
Wow.
The rest of the season that he was up for, he was terrible. I mean, that accounts for 13 of his 15 home runs
Mm-hmm.
and 8 of his 17 stolen bases.
Wow.
And with that batting average at 350, at 280 in total for the season. So like he was just like unreal good during that stretch, and then he was terrible the rest of the way. He's got terrible zone contact numbers.
Brutal plate
Uh,
skills.
yeah,
32% K, 7% walk. That's a horrendous combo. Needed a 380 BABIP to hit the 280. So are you
like
thinking?
and
Go
like
ahead.
just to point out, like even during that stretch, so during the stretch where he hit 350, all those home runs and stuff, he still had a sub 80% zone contact number.
Wow. Wow. I mean, things, sometimes things just click. And
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. Now, the projections kind of push him around like a 2020 season, 1919, really. Um, can he be an accumulator that kind of gets there, hitting 235, 240? Or are you worried that like this is a total flame out sort of situation for Tyler Fitzgerald?
I mean, I think accumulating is the upside, right? Like he's got the upside of a guy that, hey, he's going to play every day and just kind of accumulate. Like he definitely won't hit for that kind of power, but he can steal quite a few bases.
He's very
Um,
fast.
but yeah, I mean, I think the much more likely scenario is he turns into a utility player, and then the downside is he's not a major leaguer. And I think he's more likely to not be a major leaguer. But so like he's so far down my board that like there's no way I'm gonna get him.
Yeah, I was going to ask that next. By the way, I should have pointed this out at the front end. Sorry. 6 games at second base, so we're doing lighter eligibility there. That's going to be a Yahoo
Yep.
eligibility, but he will gain it in season because he's going to be the second baseman. So pick 238. You're nowhere near that for Tyler Fitzgerald.
No, I wouldn't spend the price on Tyler Fitzgerald really in any format. I just don't think he's worth it.
I think I'm with you, man. I can't really get myself excited about it with those wretched plate skills. And then, like you said, so much of his great work being confined to an amazing run. That's cool. And it was fun to watch, but it doesn't do much for me going forward.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk Willie Castro. Back to the Twins we go. And, one thing I will say about their brutal offseason, it's not like they needed to do a million things. I look at this team and like it's pretty good. I understand why they essentially want to run it back. They got pretty snake bitten last year. They just had an epic collapse, which I remain saying is the underrated part of the Tigers surge. Because if the Twins don't do that, I don't know that the Tigers get there because they had to get a bunch of wins against the Twins even. But they've got a lot of talent. Castro currently slated atop their lineup. He has become a nice, sneaky little speed option these last couple of years. And let me see what his eligibility looks like right now. He is a legit second baseman. 40 games there, 27 at third, 56 at short, and a bunch in the outfield. So he's a legit 4-position guy. And last year he did have only 14 steals. Wow, he dipped from 33 to 14. I didn't have him anywhere, so I didn't know Castro dropped that many steals off his ledger, despite playing a lot more. He went from 409 plate appearances to 635. So now, looking like a full-timer yet again, are we getting another like 12, 14 type season? Can those 30 steals come back into the mix? Where do we go from here with 28-year-old Willie Castro?
I think he should rebound a little bit in the stolen base part. It was a little weird that it dropped off so much.
Right? I did not realize that until just now.
I did because I had him on so many teams last year. For me, it's the positional flexibility. It just makes him so valuable. I am worried because he only stole 4 bases in the second half, and maybe it was an efficiency. It could be an efficiency thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wasn't like overly efficient as a base stealer, and they may have just put the red light on him. But he's just so valuable from a flexibility standpoint for your deeper leagues that it makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's eligible at second, third, short, and outfield in every format.
Yep, those are legit.
I just love guys like that. Like they just give you so much flexibility.
Yeah, especially when you're in the deeper leagues. I know we talk all the time about how we play in deeper leagues, and that is going to have more value there. When you're trying to put yourself in a position to be able to get every big free agent, right? Like that's where he really comes in. When it's like, oh, the big free agent of the week is an outfielder, and I don't have a spot. That's a bummer. But when you got some of these guys that can maneuver around, you can rejigger your puzzle pieces, and then all of a sudden you are open, or you can create an open spot for all the big free agents. And so I do love that from guys like Willie Castro. 12 homers, 14 steals, 247 average, 89 runs is pretty good, 60 ribs. Like it wasn't a bad year, but like I said, I was really jarred by how much the stolen base total went down. And we'll see if he gets it back. I don't think that 232 price point is all that bad for a four position eligible player. But I don't think I'm running out to get a ton. I think that's more, if I land on him at that point, I'm okay with it. But I don't know if I'm seeking Willie Castro. Are you going to go back to the well and actually seek him? Or are you just going to kind of take him if it comes in at 232?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll just take him if he comes at 232. But I do have, I think, him higher than ADP in terms of my ranks. I think I'll end up with a fair amount of Willie Castro.
Okay. Yeah, again, definitely not a bad price point there. Jose Caballero, speaking of speed guys, did pretty well in his first season with Tampa Bay. Led the American League in stolen bases, but led baseball in caught stealing. So 44 steals, but 16 caught. Doesn't always matter because if you don't play in net steals, that's okay, except if it makes the team want to tap the brakes a little bit. Now we didn't see it last year because he was still able to lead the league in steals there with 44, but I wonder if they see that as a reason to be like, hey, you got to make better decisions next year, or else we're going to put a yellow light on you. He did hit 9 homers. He only hit 227. And he only hit 221 the year before, so I shouldn't be that surprised. But I was kind of hoping that maybe he could be somebody who could hit, closer to like 240. And I guess he's only 13 points away from that. It's not, that far away. But is this like kind of empty speed here with Jose Caballero and his 44 steals and 227 average?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it is kind of empty speed. You can't really expect very many home runs, and I don't think the batting average is going to get that much better. He hit a 73% zone contact number.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, the overall contact number, 83% zone contact number. So maybe with some good BABIP luck, he could have a little bit better
That's
batting
kind of what I
average.
was hoping, right? Like
But
get a little lucky with it. 301 BABIP. Probably going to need to push something like a 320, 330, which he could, but you can't bank on it for Caballero.
yeah, he just doesn't strike the ball super hard either. So
Right.
uh, and I think the bigger problem for him is once Ha-Seong Kim does come back, like, does
Mm-hmm.
he even play? Like right now, we don't even have him. We don't have Caballero projected as a regular player. We have
Oh,
him kind of
wow.
on the bench in favor of Taylor Walls.
They
Um,
love Walls, dude.
they
God, they
do.
love that guy.
But like Caballero's just as good of a defender, or close to being as good of a defender. So like,
I don't
and
get it with Walls, man. I mean, I know he
and
takes his walks, but like, I
yeah,
don't get it. I don't get it. They love this guy. If he's upright, they're putting him in the damn lineup.
and so like, yeah, he's got like 2 months to, or probably about a month to 2 months to like either solidify himself as a regular player, or at least worthy of a roster spot, or hope someone else gets hurt. Now they've got a number of guys. Walls has been hurt, and Brandon Lau's been hurt a fair amount. Yandy Diaz gets hurt. Like there are going to be opportunities for Caballero to like solidify himself before Ha-Seong Kim comes back, but uh, that Ha-Seong Kim signing really puts a damper on
Yeah.
Caballero's kind of upside, and so it's really hard because I still think he can steal 40 bases in limited time, but I do worry a little bit about like, hey, is it going to be easy to project like when these stolen
Right.
bases come
Are you going to
from?
get a
Like,
bunch on your bench,
is it going
which
to be
is
like
the
a Darian
worst?
Blanco situation
Mm-hmm.
where it's like you use him for a week and he goes 0 for 12 with one stolen base, and then you put him on your bench and he has a 1 for 5 week with 7 stolen bases
Yep.
because he just comes in as a pinch runner and
Pinch
stuff.
runs a
So
few
like,
times, defensive
mhm,
replacement, but then gets an at bat and steals twice. Dude, those can be so frustrating.
yeah,
You mentioned Blanco there from Kansas City. Before him, Gerard Dyson, also a Kansas City guy, and before that, Rajay Davis. And these guys have carved out roles that were very fantasy relevant, but they can be really, really difficult to manage and really piss you off where you're chasing your tail. So be careful with that with Caballero. His ADP right now is 311. I did look at more recent ones. He isn't really sinking all that much since the Ha-Seong Kim signing. Like there's a 412, there's a 356, there's a 372, but he had a range like that even before the signing. 235 to 428 is Caballero's range right now. He's true triple eligibility, second, third,
hmm
and short. Are you paying that price at all?
probably not.
You think you just
Um,
go for like Dylan Moore 40 picks later?
what pick did you say?
311. Amber is the color of his energy.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna go with someone a little bit later. Uh,
Yeah, I liked him last year. I was on the Caballero
I
train,
was too.
and I think it worked, right? We got 44
Mhm.
steals. So we took the ugly batting average, got the steals. But this year, and your point about Kim, is the biggest one for me.
Like,
If Kim
why not just
wasn't signed there, go ahead.
if you need stolen bases, like why not take Jacob Young at
Yes,
334? You
yes,
know,
I would rather that. Give me pieces of the Nats, dude. I'm on the Nats.
yeah.
I'm keen on the Nats big
Honestly,
time.
give me Ha-Seong. Well, in like NFBC, well, actually, in a lot of these, you can't really stash Kim for that long and hope that he's going to run when he comes back. But I mean,
No, that's our
Ha-Seong
guy,
Kim's
but
going later. I
it,
love him, but
he's hard to stash. I'm with you, but I don't think I'm going to stash him. What I'm hoping is that people who draft him cut him, and then
yeah,
we can pluck him before he gets back because they get impatient or they need the roster spot type of thing. Because I wouldn't draft him in like a main event right now. No way.
no, I wouldn't either. I'd probably like take Tyro Estrada like 428.
Yep, yep. And like I said, Dylan Moore also has the quad eligibility, second, third, short outfield, similar to our boy Willie Castro, and he goes at pick 354. I think I'd rather just do that. So
Yeah,
Caballero might be on the outside looking in a little bit right now. Horowitz, like I said, we've talked about to death. Jake Cronenworth. Let's talk a little Rake Cronenworth, man. I love this guy, but after some pretty good seasons to kind of get going, it's gotten a little bland, especially when you consider that he's a first baseman. Like he plays first base for them, and you don't get real first base production there. 17 homers, 83 ribs, 5 steals, 241 average. The thing was, like when he first broke through, 266 average or 285 in the very first year and then 266 the next year, I can live with that. But now we're down here in it was 229 in 2023, 241 last year with under 20 homers. He doesn't really run. What are we getting from Rake these days? He's first, second eligible. He goes around pick 300 at 297. Is there anything here to latch onto with Cronenworth? I mean, he's part of a good team. They're a quality ball club. He is going to play second this year because they put a rise at first, which is even worse first base profile. But is there anything here that really gets you going about Rake?
I mean, he's an accumulator. That deep
Classic
leagues,
accumulator.
yeah, like dual eligible, like that's it. But like he's like I said, he's just not very inspiring. He's gonna steal you a handful of bags. He probably gonna hit 17 home runs and 600 plus plate appearances, with a mediocre to bad
80 ribs.
average. Yeah, like there's nothing super inspiring, but in leagues where volume is king, so draft champions,
Yeah.
deep mixers, NL only, he makes a lot of sense because like he's got 3 of his last 4 seasons. He has 643 plate appearances or more.
And the other was 522, which is
Yeah,
still, I mean, that's a excuse me, chunk of time missed, but that's still pretty decent even at 522 plate appearances. And this is a great point that you make about where the volume matters. Christian Campbell goes right before him among second basemen, and I would never take Campbell over Cronenworth in a DC. I don't even know, like, is he close enough that he's going to really make an impact in Boston this year, do you think?
I think there's a really good shot. Like I think they said they're going to give him an opportunity to be the opening day second baseman. Like he's in an open
Oh,
competition.
okay. Well, then maybe I'm underestimating it a little bit, but I don't know. I just generally am going to go for the boring, steady guy than to take a shot on a guy who's never played in the majors. So I don't know. I might have to reassess that one with Campbell. Then I didn't realize that he was that much on the cusp. I know David Hamilton is not really blocking off anybody. Hook 'em horns. Love David Hamilton, but I understand the limits in his game that he's not necessarily blocking off Campbell. So I guess it makes sense that they would have Campbell ready to go. They got such a nasty system out there, man. They're going to be really starting to churn out the talent. Don't be surprised if the Red Sox make some noise this year too. I think they're really starting to put some things together. The Crochet move was really nice. They brought Bueller. And they got these prospects that are going to start making
Yeah,
an impact, so they could be interesting. Anyway, Cronenworth, I do think has some DC type value. It's just going to be ho hum though. No one's going to ooh and ah
yeah.
when you take him in the draft room. Christopher Morel, the Rays. When they traded for him, I was excited because dude tears the cover off the ball. I'm like, yes, he's going to a team that's going to appreciate the things that he can do. And oh my God, he was so bad, it's unbelievable. I think he hit a homer in his first game or 2 of his first 3 games or something. Let me see. I'm pulling it up right now. Christopher Morel hit, yeah, homers in his first 2 games. And it was that classic Ian Happ moment that we always talk about. We're like,
Hmm.
boom, they did it, man. They found him. They found their guy. Yeah, he had a 57 OPS plus with them, dude. It was so bad. We know his contact issues are plentiful. Can he overcome them? He's 26. When he makes contact, he smacks the absolute piss out of the ball. He just makes contact as about frequently as Haley's Comet comes through. 21 homers, 8 steals, 8 for 15 on the bases, by the way, too. So 7 caughts. That's actually really wretched as well. So I don't even know if they're going to let him run in Tampa Bay. But what does a full year in Tampa Bay look like for Morel?
So I think this is like a good news, bad news situation. Like the bad news is, yeah, these contact skills probably aren't getting any better. This is kind of who he is. Now he's still fairly young, and guys do improve. So like,
But not like
yeah,
he's
like
not going to 180 it.
he needs to like Brenton Doyle it, right? Because Brenton Doyle had a
Yeah.
lot of these issues. If he does, like all of a sudden, and like the price is like is pretty decent, right? Like a
Mm-hmm.
for him to like,
I'm
you
pulling
know,
up
for
Morel's ADP right now. 281. Like that's not terrible. In fact, it's
yes.
right above Cronenworth
So
and
like if
Campbell.
you are a Morel believer, like this is a decent time to like gamble on him, right? Because like that price is, if he flops, which I expect he will, he's an easy cut, right? Like
Yeah,
you can drop, or you don't have to draft him and someone else will cut him, and maybe you can try to pick him up and see if you can catch lightning in a bottle at some point. But
sure.
for me, like I'm watching the strikeouts in spring training. Like if the walks and the strikeouts, like if those seem to be in a better spot, then hey, maybe I will take a cheap gamble. But ultimately, like I do kind of think this is who he is. The good news is, like no one benefited from that hurricane in Florida more than Christopher Morel, because like
So
he
weird
now,
framing.
I know I felt bad just even saying it that way, but it's true. Like he's a guy who can't make contact, and then he had that batter's eye that all those hitters,
Right.
are really really angry about in Tampa Bay, and so like now he gets to go to ostensibly a minor league park. I know it's a spring
Yeah.
training park, but ostensibly a minor league park, and hit like yeah. So like I think there is an opportunity. Like I can't believe I'm saying like I think there's a buying opportunity on Christopher Morel right now. I don't think he's gonna be a better overall hitter, but ultimately I do think that he is in a good opportunity and worth the price of it as a gamble.
It is worth noting that, with the Cubs, his plate skills in terms of the strikeout and walk rates weren't too bad. 25% K rate and 11% walk. Like that, he was showing encouraging signs rather. And that's why I was like, okay, now he's going to go to Tampa Bay. I'm excited to see where this goes. And like I said, it flopped. Okay, after you get traded, you never really know. It happened to go super sideways for him. But like you said, he's not going to flip this on its head. I think that 25% and 11%, that's like the best it can be. And he still only hit 199 with the Cubs because he had a 220 BABIP. Now, he probably
Yeah.
had some bad luck there, but I think he also swings for the fences every time. So it's one of those hit and miss guys that if he catches fire, he can rip 30, but he can also be on the waiver wire and go be one of those guys who's on like 7 teams next year too, because everyone takes a chance. Because oh my God, the Rays have 3 lefties this week. Morel's the pickup of the week, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
he's also second, third eligible, and I forgot to mention this with Cronenworth, so I'll mention it with Morel. I do like those guys because then they can also
Yep.
play corner and middle. So those are fun dual eligible guys, and it's first and second for Cronenworth, second and third for Morel. All right, let's keep going here and talk Michael Garcia. Now, things didn't quite go all the way to plan for Michael Garcia last year, but I also don't think it was terrible. I think one of the things that we thought could happen was that his power could take a step forward. It didn't really. I mean, I guess it technically did. He had an 086 ISO up to 101, but there were some projections that like, oh, the way he strikes the ball, I know Jeff Zimmerman was big on him. Maybe he could have been more like a 130 type ISO guy, which again is still not a huge power, but it could have been more of like a 12 to 14 homer type guy. Instead, he hit 7. But absent that power surge, he did steal 37 bases in 39 tries. Really, really good, super efficient. That said, 231, 281, 332 slash line, 69 WRC plus. All in all, it was still a pretty tough year, unless the steals were enough to sustain his value for you. What do we go? What do we get this year from Michael Garcia? Can he improve that slash line? Forget the power for a moment. We're not too worried about that. Can he actually hit, like 250, or even get his OBP back to 323, which is what it was in 2023? Because then I think it's a lot more palatable to take the steals. But as is, I don't like it. Where's Michael Garcia go from here?
Yeah, I mean, he had a 260 XBA. I think that the 268 BABIP did a lot of lifting, or poor lifting.
Yeah,
Heavy
a
lifting.
lot of suppression.
Yeah, a lot of
on his
suppression for him.
numbers.
He makes a lot of in zone contact. He doesn't hit the ball particularly well, and he does put the ball kind of on the ground. He's got a 6-degree launch angle. So, like, I don't think there's power coming unless he raises that launch angle. And even if he does, like, it wouldn't be like he'd be like a 15 plus homer guy. Like, I don't think there's a ton of power in that bat. But like, is there a world in which he's kind of Bryce Terangi? Like,
That
sure,
could be
like,
nice.
like
We could work with that.
I see a potential scenario in which Miguel Garcia hits like 280 and steals 50 bags. Like, I totally can see that,
If
and
he
we're
can
talking
rip
about a guy,
280,
yeah, like he's dual eligible. Like, I really like Miguel Garcia. He's definitely a target for me.
another second, third guy, so corner middle, up at 217 with his ADP. So got to pay a bit more, and I think it's because of that beautiful stolen base success rate and the fact that he played a full year. And no, I think a lot of people. I don't think you're alone there in liking him, because I like him too. Like I said, Jeff Zimmerman, our colleague, huge fan of his. So I understand why people have hope for him, and I do think it was the BABIP really doing a number on that batting average there. I just think he's better than that. And so even if, like I said, we don't see the power really take a step forward, maybe he hits 9 next year and incrementally jumps up a little bit again. Who cares? Give me the steals. Give me a batting average that I can live with. I'll even take 260. 280 is kind of like, holy crap, everything came together and this was an amazing year. You had 272 in 2023. Even if I can get to 260, I'm going to be loving that speed. So I will be targeting him. I will definitely have some Michael Garcia shares. And then finally in this tier is Brendan Donovan from the St. Louis Cardinals. One of the other teams you said got an F- because they haven't done crap either. And they haven't even traded the guys that they had been talking about. Remember, I think it was like one of the very first bits of big news from the offseason. It might even happen during the playoffs. I can't remember the specific timeline, but we're going to be open to trading some of our big dudes. Nolan Arenado's on the block, this, that, and the other. I haven't heard a peep about that since, by the way. And
there was a report a few days ago.
Oh, well, I've been dead to the world, so that explain why I missed it.
Yeah, so there was a report a few days ago that they were still engaged in talks.
Okay. You think he gets moved then?
I do think he gets moved. I think it's just a matter of how much money the Cardinals are going to eat.
And then do you think that Bregman has to sign first, and then he's a consolation for somebody?
No, I think Bregman's waiting for the Arenado thing to be done.
Ah, okay. So he's like, get that carcass shipped off somewhere, and then I can sign somewhere. By the way, I would die if he goes to the Tigers. That'd be so sick if we also got Bregman too. But anyway, back to Brendan Donovan. This is another guy I really like. Although at the same time, I do have to point out that he's pretty Cronin-worthy. 14 homers, 73 ribbies, 5 steals, 5 for 10 on the bases. That's horrendous. 278 average, but he has great plate skills, 12% 12% strikeout rate, 7% walk rate. So he makes contact. Doesn't take a ton of walks, but when you make that much contact, I'm cool with it. What do we think about Brendan Donovan? He's second base outfield, so another unique eligibility there. Goes around 235 pick. Is that something that you're willing to pay for Brendan Donovan?
Yeah, I mean, he is just a straight accumulator. So, like, if you're in a 10 or 12 team league, you don't care about Brendan Donovan. You really don't.
Too boring. Too boring.
But yeah, in other formats, in deeper formats, NL only, draft champions, deep 15 team leagues. Like, I love Brendan Donovan. Like, he's positional eligible at both second and outfield. In some really weird formats, he'll have third base eligibility as well. Like he's just a dude that can accumulate, and I think he's going to hit a top of that Cardinals lineup, which won't be great, but I don't think it'll be terrible either.
I
So,
agree.
652 plate appearances last year, coming off of a year where he missed a lot of the season with injury. Like, I feel really good about Brendan Donovan from an accumulation standpoint. He just
Yeah.
doesn't move the needle in power and speed.
Yeah, and so like you said, that's why in the shallow leagues he's like a injury fill in for a week or whatever. But at the draft table, you're trying to spike something much bigger. You don't go for Brendan Donovan's in those leagues because you're trying to hit on the big guy, and then you can settle for him, like I said, as a pickup for a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time to fill in an injury. Batting average is nice. 278 last year, 284 the year before that, 281 before that. Like consistent batting average guy. But like you said, just not moving the power speed needle enough to be a lower league viable guy. All right, our final tier of second baseman: Joey Ortiz, Tyro Estrada, Gavin Lux, Connor Norby, Otto Lopez, David Hamilton, Christian Campbell, and Brendan Rodgers. Joey Ortiz. Let's start with him. Going to be taking is Terang moving to short or is he moving to short? We have Ortiz in right now,
Yeah, I think
keeping
Ortiz
Terang
is
at
in.
second.
Yeah.
I guess don't why make him move positions when he was brilliant at second last year? Let
Mhm.
let Terang stay there. Ortiz at short. So he's gonna become the new shortstop. And remember, he came over in the Corbin Burns deal. I think this is a chance to maybe be a little sneaky decent player here. Went 11-11 last year with 60 ribbies, 58 runs, 239 average. Nothing too flashy there, but did have a 283 BABIP. If he can get even into the 300s with his BABIP, maybe he's hitting 250. Could there be another level here? I think I had somebody. Man, I don't remember where I saw it because I haven't. I was gonna do my first chat back this week, but I didn't because I felt like crap. Next week my chats will restart. But somebody was asking me about Ortiz somewhere. I can't remember where, but they were asking, do you think he could have a little power jump? He did have a 159 ISO last year. That's not nothing. Is there another level here for Ortiz after his first full year with the Brewers?
I think there's another level, but I don't think it's in power. I think if
Okay,
there's another level for Ortiz, it is in stolen bases and in batting average. I mean, he makes a ton of in zone contact. And, unlike a lot of these kind of Michael Garcia types who make a lot of in zone contact but don't have enough power to like consistently, like push that ball into the outfield as opposed to just being a ground ball guy. Uh, like Ortiz can actually hit the ball fairly hard. He had a 111.5 max exit velocity.
got a
Like
decent bat
there's a
speed too.
yeah, there's some good pop in that. The problem is he puts the ball on the ground almost 50% of the time.
How
But
much?
almost 50% of the time.
Yeah, that's a little bit much.
So, but like he's got decent speed. Like I could see, like for me, like I projected a better batting average. Um, and I could see some more stolen bases because we know Milwaukee can push it on the base paths. So like
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a world in which, yeah, he's probably a low double digit homer guy, but he gets more plate appearances this year. So he pushes it to maybe like, 12, 13 homers, 20 stolen bases, and like a 260 batting average. Like, I think Joey Ortiz is a really nice player. I wasn't in on him last year, but I think this year I am in on him.
Yeah, I like Joey Ortiz. He's third base eligible in leagues that require 20 games, so it is second base eligibility in smaller leagues because he only played 6 games there and 10 games at shortstop. So again, depends on what your league qualifications are. But yeah, I'm with you. I do think that there could be another level here of quality, and I don't think that 293 ADP is a problem at all. I got no
Yeah.
problems paying that for Joey Ortiz. So I'm going to be having some Joey Ortiz shares. And this team, they're kind of interesting, right? Because they're gonna get Brandon Woodruff back. They got Peralta. Tobias Myers had the breakout. They got Cortez that they brought in the Devin Williams trade. They've got really compelling bats too. Chorio, Yelich, William Contreras, Garrett Mitchell, Hoskins, Frelick, Terang, Ortiz, Dunn. That's their lineup. Oliver Dunn is penciling in at third base right now. They could use a third baseman, but other than that, pretty good lineup there. And I think Ortiz can be a nice part of that. So I like him a decent bit. Tyro Estrada, your guy. You mentioned him earlier as somebody you'd take. I can't remember over who, but it was over
Cabero.
Caballero. Caballero. Yes. So we've seen him now. What did he do last year? I cannot remember. Tyro
He
Strada. Was
was
he hurt
hurt.
last year?
Yeah, he was hurt a lot, and then kind of would lose his playing time. And when he was on the field, he only had 381 plate appearances, 9 home runs, 2 stolen bases at
Was
217.
I'm sorry, he signed with Colorado. I
Yeah,
missed that.
yeah, and this is why like I'm in on
Okay.
Tyro Estrada, and I feel like the
Yeah.
signing's been kind of overlooked a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah. Let's talk Tyro Estrada going to
Like
Colorado. He's going to be there every day, second baseman. Go ahead.
he doesn't even need to be that good. Like because
Right.
Colorado will just play him. Like they're
In
paying
fact, the
him.
worse he is, the more playing time you get in Colorado. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
probably. So like yeah, I think Estrada is like a really sneaky good buy right now. I think he should bounce back to kind of his 22, 23 numbers, which is 14 homers, 20 stolen bases, 260 or 270 batting average. You get that
Mm-hmm.
extra BABIP help in Colorado. So like I like Tyler Estrada a lot this year. He's definitely a target for me kind of late if I don't have an MI.
Yeah, and as Brett says, if you like Brendan Rodgers as a rookie, you should draft everywhere. And I know you didn't like Rodgers, but I did, and I kept trying to make
Mhm.
Rodgers a thing. Estrada's actually done something.
Yep.
I kept hoping that Brendan Rodgers could actually do something. At least we've seen it with Estrada. Like you said, he put up those carbon copy seasons in 22 and 23 before getting injured last year. Pick three, 312. I got no problems
Yeah.
with that.
It's a
I
great
love that
purchase
move.
price. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so Tyro Estrada moving up my list there. I had missed that he had moved out there. Gavin Lux, we've talked about him. We talked about him when he made the move, when he was traded out there to Cincinnati. Anything else to add about him? I honestly
We
don't
love
know that
him.
I. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we're just obsessed with him. Now, are you
I like
moved by the fact that he's penciled in as the DH? Does that
I think
worry
he's
you at all?
no, I because I think what a Gavin Lux is gonna end up being is kind of a utility, like a super
Yeah,
utility guy for them. So like
I think so
he's
too.
I think it's just hard to kind of show that on roster resource that
Right.
like, hey, he's gonna kind of play everywhere. And this is a team that while it is kind of loaded offensively, like it's also a team that can like have a lot of injuries. We're talking about like
Oh yeah, we saw last year. Remember, we
yeah,
talked about how they got to move somebody. They got too many offensive guys, and then they ran out of guys.
TJ Friedel, Jake Fraley, Heimer Candelario, Austin Hayes, Christian Carcion,
Mm-hmm.
like these are all guys who get injured. So like I think there's a really good shot for Gavin Lux to be a full-time player most of this season. I think when they're completely healthy, like if they start the season off completely healthy, then there's a chance that Lux is mostly like a strong side platoon bat, but like that won't last very long. Not with the guys they have penciled into that lineup.
No, I don't think so either. And I was reading an article after the move where he was talking about how he definitely got more confidence in the knee as the season went on. I think it was just a thing where, for me specifically, as a huge fan of his, I just kind of was wish casting that he'd be 100% right away. You never know, right? Some guys are. They return from an injury and you can't believe that they missed any time because they look like 100% themselves. But that doesn't happen very often. And the simple fact was, Lux did still have to kind of battle through trusting his knee. And then as the second half, when he started to figure it out a little bit, he got a bit better. And now going to Cincinnati, obviously he goes to a worse team than the Dodgers, of course, but the opportunity opens up. And of course, we love that ballpark. So we're still gung ho on Gavin Lux. He's picked 336. I got zero issues with that. And he could add some eligibilities in season, like you said. He has only second base right now as far as 20 game eligibility. But if he starts bouncing around places, he could even add some spots. So
Yeah.
definitely still fully in on Gavin Lux at least one more year here. If he burns me this year, well, we'll see what happens. But I love him. I'm really hoping that Gavin Lux can pop off this year. Connor Norby. Let's talk about him in Miami. I'm mad at him. I'm honestly more mad at Miami because I cut him the week before they finally called him back up. I don't even know why they sent him down. Pissed me off, man. 7 homers, 3 steals with them. I could have used those 7 homers and 3 steals. I had held on to him a couple extra weeks. And then the second I finally said, well, it's not happening, of course they called him up. So I got my bitterness there, but it won't keep me from, judging him properly and possibly being back in on him this year. What can we see from Connor Norby as a full-time player in Miami this year, because obviously he should have a long runway for playing time as the everyday third baseman. Are you excited about Norby as a Marlin?
Nope.
Why not?
uh, in his time in Miami, so was it mid-August or whatever it was, I think
Yeah,
August 19th on, had a 75.6% zone contact
and that's not
during that
amazing,
time. Yeah, like that 236 average, I think, was actually boosted up a little bit by BABIP. His XBA was 228. He does not hit the ball particularly hard, and max exit velocity is 107.5. Um, like I don't think that Norby is a very good player, to be quite honest. So like I think this is more of an accumulator type situation that hey, he's gonna play every day, and that might lead him to like mid-teens homers and 10 stolen bases, but like it's gonna probably come with a mediocre to bad batting average and not a lot of support in the lineup to help him with runs and
right?
RBIs. So like
Right.
for me, like Connor Norby is probably not going to end up on any of my teams this year.
He is super fast, so don't get too dissuaded by the 3 for 6 on the bases. If he tightens up his decisions, he could at least get you some steals. But yeah, like I was surprised with the trade. He was part of the Trevor Rogers trade. He went with Kyle Stowers for Trevor Rogers. Everyone was acting like he was a god, and they're
Yeah,
like, "Oh, how did the Marlins heist the Orioles like this?" I was like, "Listen, Trevor Rogers did not work out for them. Okay, I'm in the bag for Rogers. It didn't. It went south. I'll take the L there." But I don't look at Stowers and Norby and say like, how could you possibly give that up to take a shot on a left-hander like Trevor Rogers? So
yeah,
I'm with you there that I don't think he's like a god. The playing time is nice, but like you said, there's also the fact that there is no support. So what are the run and ribby numbers going to look like? And if you're getting a bad batting average, it does kind of add up to where it's like, does it really get the job done? Pick 267 ADP. That's kind of a high ADP for him too.
yeah. It's way too high. Like
I
there's a
don't
lot
like
of
that.
guys. Yeah, there's a lot of guys
He's
that
going
I
ahead
would
of Matt
much rather.
Wallner, dude. And I know they're
Yeah.
not the same position, like so it's not necessarily a fair comparison. But I take Matt Wallner 500 times more than I would take Connor
I,
Norby.
Here's the thing. I take Chris Morel,
Right.
and we know how I feel about Christopher Morel. So like,
I
no
take
thank you.
Andrew Vaughn,
Yeah,
who goes around the same pick. Like what is this ADP? Jeez.
give me Jake Cronenworth, who is an accumulator just on a better team.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. Okay, so maybe I won't have
upside
Norby.
on Christian Walker, like Roman Anthony's going
Yeah.
right there. Like honestly, like I think I'd rather have Jose Caballero, and I just said like I don't really want to draft Jose Caballero, like
Lars
right, like
Nootbaar, Garrett
Matt
Mitchell.
Shaw's going right there. Like I'll take a gamble on that upside. Joey Ortiz, the guy we were just talking about,
Yeah.
like
What the hell
yeah.
is this ADP? I don't
I
get it.
think people are influenced by that like kind of hot run, but like I
Yeah.
think that hot run was fraudulent. Like, don't just look at the 162 plate appearances with 7 home runs and 3 stolen bases when he was in Miami and triple it and go, oh, that's going to be his
Right.
line. Like
Right.
that's a mistake.
No, that's a big mistake. Yeah. The one thing I think he could be sneaky, like I said, is steals because he is a really, really fast guy. But that doesn't guarantee steals either. So I'm not even guaranteeing that. But if he spiked like a 20 steal season, okay, I could understand that. Still wouldn't be worth the 267 ADP. I'm just not there on that with Connor Norby. What about Otto Lopez, who I believe is his teammate, right? Is he not in Miami? Do I have
He
my
is.
players right? Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
Otto Lopez. Remember he was in Toronto originally, but yeah, now he's in Miami. What did he do last year? He played a decent bit, 434 plate appearances, 6 homers, 20 steals, 270 average, 70% K, 6% walk. Kind of boring. Is there anything here with Otto Lopez? He'll be 26 again in Miami. Playing time is all but guaranteed if you have a pulse. Is Otto Lopez somebody who does anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a cheap source of speed. He's going pick 380.
I take
Like
him over Norby.
I was literally gonna just say that. Like I think, yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what I would do too is I would just pass on Norby and take Otto Lopez later if you really need to have a Marlin. Like
If you really want a Marlin on your team.
if you're Peter Pratt right now and you're going, I have to have Marlins on my team, like skip out on Norby and go get Otto Lopez a little bit later. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
20 stolen bases and 400 plate appearances. And I think like, hey, there isn't really a reason why he can't get to 600 plate appearances. I think they've got, other guys to platoon, and Lopez is a righty anyways. So like, I think he's just going to play every day that he's healthy at second base, and he could be in line for like a 30 stolen base kind of season. Cheap speed. Like, there's a lot of these guys, right? Like there's a lot of cheap speed dudes out there now with the new rule changes and stuff. But I like Lopez for who he is. I'm not going to end up with a lot of Marlins just because, at least Marlins offensive players, just because I don't know what the run support around them are going to look like.
Xavier Edwards is the only one that I would consider anything close to a target. I like Sanchez too. I have a hard time quitting him. He's only 27. So I still have some hope there. He went 18-16 last year, sneaky decent. So yeah, there's a couple guys there. Those are probably the two that the closest I would consider to targets. But generally, you're looking for pitchers when it comes to Marlins as opposed to their hitters. That is a pretty wretched lineup. Jesus,
it's a terrible lineup.
David Hamilton, we talked about him a little bit when we were talking about Christian Campbell. Another speed guy, right into your point there about how there's many more of these guys available these days. He ended up putting together 33 steals with 8 homers in 317 plate appearances, but a 248 average, 25% K and 7% walk. You hate that combo. There's just too many Ks for somebody who doesn't have enough power and not enough walks to kind of keep leveraging that speed. Now, he was 33 for 37, though, so really, really efficient. But as we mentioned, Christian Campbell lurking right there. David Hamilton is not going to be blocking him off for too long if he doesn't show some improvements. Anything going here for David Hamilton, or is he destined to be like a utility bench guy for them?
I think he's going to end up being a utility bench guy. He may end up with the opening day, job at second base. If they want to hold Campbell down, especially if Campbell struggles all in spring. That being said, like I don't think Hamilton is going to hold that job for very long. Now, that being said, he can play a lot of different defensive positions, and he is a good defender. And you've got another guy who can kind of struggle offensively in Ceddanne Rafaela, who's expected to kind of be a regular. So, like, I think Hamilton will find his plate appearances, but I think you got to cap him around 450. And so, like, the upside is a little bit limited on Hamilton. That being said, he can steal a crap ton of bases. Like,
yes,
he's one of the fastest dudes in Major League Baseball. He only had 317 plate appearances last season, and he got 33 stolen bases. So like,
yeah, it's really
if he can find himself 400 plate appearances, like he could steal 40 bases. But like he's one of those guys like you don't want to have to rely upon, and he's going to be difficult to use because you don't know when you're going to be able to put him in the lineup.
Yep, I think I agree with all of that. He is second short eligible. Pick 370 is fair, at least. I will say that for somebody that did that well on the bases. I mean, I guess we talked about the Christian Campbell ADP earlier, and if they have him that high, I guess that's why people aren't necessarily taking David Hamilton. But 370 at least isn't bad. So if you do want to get that speed, it is relatively cheap, and I'd certainly take him over Connor Norby. I'll tell you that right now.
Yep.
I threw Campbell on the list here just so that he pops up in the list, but we just talked about him. And then we'll finish with Brendan Rodgers, who it comes full circle there because Tyro Estrada took his job. And what's he? Is he even still a Rocky, Brendan Rodgers?
Brendan Rodgers is he was non-tendered. He doesn't have a team yet.
Cool. So you've hated him forever. It took me like 12 years, but I finally moved on. So do we have anything to say about Brendan Rodgers? He has no team, so I don't think there's really anything.
I think he's going to be great in the KBO.
Are you taking him in your KBO league?
I'm sure he will end up like finding a minor league deal somewhere. And
he's still only 28.
We can talk about him if he gets called up.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. All right, second base in the books. If we forgot anybody, let us know in the comments, and we'll give you our thoughts on them. But second base is a really interesting position this year. Overall, how do you think you're approaching it? Are you going to be taking a stud at the top? Do you wait for your main guy? Obviously, we're taking a more holistic approach now, and we covered those top end guys quite some time ago. But where are you generally attacking the position?
For me, it's like Marcus Simeon or bust, right? Like
Yeah,
if I don't end up with Marcus Simeon and I love Marcus Simeon's price, like then I'm probably waiting a while. I really like Luis Rengifo. I really like Bryson Stott. I like Michael Garcia. So like for me, it's like I, Jose Altuve is another guy. Like I'm willing to kind of take early, but
me too.
and Matt McLean still
I'm
like
still in on McLean,
yeah.
100%.
But more likely than not, I think in most drafts, I'm probably waiting until I don't know, like the 150s to kind of pop on a second baseman, and then filling in my MI later. I think it gets like a bad rap as a really bad position, but there are a lot of guys that I like late. So like
Yeah.
I don't mind it. It's also like a position like where some guys are going to gain eligibility too, right? So
Hmm.
our boy like Keith Colt, like he's going to pick up first base eligibility in season, which makes him even more attractive, right?
Yep.
Like I don't mind second base. I think it's kind of a underrated position this year.
Yeah, I actually think so too. As we've gone through it here, I ended up liking quite a few guys there. So I think there are definitely a lot of options. I'm with you on the Semien train. I do think Altuve is probably one of the other top end guys I'd be interested in. McLean, you mentioned. But if not, then yeah, I'm also going to be waiting because I think I can play in that middle and kind of piece it together there with Colt Keith definitely being part of that because I'm really eager to see what he can do in his sophomore year, and I think he can do well. So, all right, I made it. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do this. We
I'm
thought
proud
about
of
doing
you.
it yesterday, and I was like, man, because I did my OOTP stream, and I was like, I don't think I could do both in the same day. But I did it. I think we're good to go. We should be back on schedule here, unless I fall apart over the weekend. We'll be back Monday. But anyway, Justin, are you gonna watch Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch Super Bowl. Like, I don't
Okay.
really care who wins at this point. I think I'd rather Philadelphia win just because, like, I don't want to see a three-peat. But
Yeah,
ultimately, neither team is interesting to me. I'm gonna mostly just sit on the couch and eat chicken wings.
that sounds good. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Um, have a good one. We'll talk Monday morning or Monday afternoon, rather. Take care.
All right, take it easy.